Hello, everyone. So I just give it maybe a couple of seconds just for people maybe to retune back in if they're joining us for Power. Power with me for 45, yes, isn't it, Ferdy? I'm not going crazy. Yeah. It seems like a millennia since I've been back in this space. And for those of you maybe who are just now tuning in and noticing something, this is what we call the Corona cut. And it was a gift to me by my lovely wife. So if you don't like it, you have to blame her for it. And you can go and you can attack her on Instagram, troll her. So we are going to be doing our Power series. I'm going to take us through pretty much the kind of classic sequence of the practice, but I want us to have one specific focus in today's practice, which is going to be upon the breathing. So I should just get started, yeah, Ferdinand? Yeah. Just double check. Is everyone okay out there? You can give us thumbs up and things if you're just there. And oh, yes. Who did the double? Who's gone from boxing into power? Which brave souls are out there? I didn't. I did bicycling like a crazy fool over Erasmus Bridge. Right. So, for the power practice, like normal, if you do have bricks available at home, put one towards the front and the back end of your mat. If you don't have bricks around at home, again, we can have our improvised bricks with the use of books and things like this. But also, for lots of us, you can adjust the positions accordingly so that you won't need those props. And that's perfectly fine if you need to adjust anything to make it a little more accessible for your own body. Okay, so what we're going to do is just come towards the front end of your mat, have your feet nice and wide apart, so around hip width, possibly even slightly wider, and just take a little bit of a bend into the knees. Make sure those knees are tracking over your toes. Your hips can be relatively relaxed here, so we're not over squeezing the buttocks. There's just a mild bit of engagement there into the buttocks to support that junction through the body, but we're not over squeezing, making it impossible for us here to hinge into the waist, which is essential to keep good spinal health into the lower part of the back. And we're just going to rest one hand onto the belly, one hand onto the chest. And we're going to check in onto our breathing. So close your eyes. And just feeling for how your breath is at this point, can you possibly allow your breath to send its way into both of those hands? So we feel an expansion into belly and into chest. And not only feeling that those move out into the hands, but also there is the feeling of them separating away from each other. So the spine and that central part of the body is actually growing a little bit more taller, a bit more spacious with each inhalation. And with the exhalation, we're firming into the abdominals to support the lower spine. So there's a little bit of firming into the center of the body. Easy inhalation. And relatively easy exhalation with a mild resistance so that we get that sound of the ocean in the back of your own throat, and keeping that breathing for yourself. So not needing to overpress it, overstress the breath. Just enough that you hear the ocean in the back of your head, as imagining perhaps if your head was like a conch shell. You know, when you've done that on the beach and you've put your ear to a shell and you just hear it inside the shell, and that's your ears or your head. And we're just going to see if we can start to bring that breath into a steady rhythm. Feeling easy transition between inhalation and exhalation. Noticing those two moments as well, between inhale and exhale, and at the end of exhale going into your next inhalation. So we have that feeling of fullness of breath at the end of inhale, and that full emptiness at the end of exhalation, where we can feel that grounding into the body. Then let's allow those arms to come down by the side body, keeping the breath at the center of our focus for this practice today. So nice and easy. You may prefer to move with the breath or just move, but keep your focus on the breathing. So with your next steady inhalation, let's allow the arms to lift up overhead. And with our exhalation, let's interlace the fingers, but keep the index finger lifting. We're going to go over towards that right-hand side, just arcing across towards the right, feeling that opening to the side body on that left-hand side. Feeling that firmness into the center of the body to give us some good stability. And then perhaps with our next inhalation, pressing through two strong legs, but notice here I'm not locking through the knees. And then I'm moving over with the exhalation over to left-hand side. I'm going to breathe into the right ribs and into that space between the ribs and the pelvis. Finding space, but using that exhalation to firm into the center of the body and find some good stability there into the core. With your inhalation, come back up through center. We'll go one more time to each direction, over towards that right-hand side. Use your inhale to find more space here. You can see that nice and opening there onto my left rib cage. And then I'm coming back up through center. Next steady breath in, I find a little more tallness through the spine. And your exhalation moving over towards that left-hand side. So if you're joining us from your previous boxing session as well, seeing if we can start to steady that breath, steady the blood. Coming back up through the center, let's drop the index finger down and we bend at the elbows. Let your head fall back into that little hammock and your elbows are going to go up towards the sky, giving you that stretch into the latissimus and finding that we can take a spinal arch. Be careful here that we don't go into twerk mode, that we keep the sitting bones dropping down, firming into the center to support the spinal arching. And then from here, just bringing your head back up to neutral, let the arms come up. Take a forward bend, hinging into the waist. So we're not over-tensing into the buttocks, which can often stop us spreading the workload through the legs and through the spine. And I'm just letting myself fall into this forward bend. Letting go of my head. I've got my head a little bit lifted here, just so I don't mess up the sound with the microphone. But for yourselves, you can really let your head drop down towards the ground. Feel for that squidginess. Be on the bottom side of your feet there. So you're really sinking yourself into the floor. Now we're going to push down into the ground. With your next steady breath in, slide the fingers up the shins, firm into the center as we lift part way up there. Find length into your spine. With your exhale, soften the knees and let the body come down into the floor. Hands come down. Let's step back into plank. Now, in your plank position here, I'm demoing with a bottom really high. So what I'm going to see if I can do is bend the knees a little bit and move the heart forward. That's going to help me bring the pelvis a little lower. Steady breath in to open up your chest, perhaps lowering the knees if you need to. Chaturanga with a steady exhalation. Release your toes, take a breath in, firming into the center here as you arch the spine to protect the back. Elbows staying in by the sides of the ribs. With exhale, releasing down. Tuck your toes, breath in, firming into the core as we come up through a plank, maybe with knees down, and then find your way back, downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. And just let yourself settle into this position. Now feel free here to bend a little into your knees to help find a bit more space into the lower part of spine. You may prefer to tread alternate heels towards the floor. So you get this little walking action, just gradually easing into the tissue on the back of your legs. Feel the equalizing pressure through your hands into the floor, not overstretching the shoulders, nor are we too closed here and keeping too much work into the side body. So I'm going to open it up a little bit more. Now your next breath in, lift your heels. Exhalation to bend the knees, look to the thumbs. We have the options here to step, jump, or walk your way forward. You're right there, Ferdinand. Hello, everyone. Take a breath in, push the feet down and slide the fingers up your shins. Maybe use the hands here onto the thighs. If you do have lower spine issues, taking some of the pressure and weight out of the lower spine is a good idea here. Take your next exhalation for forward bend. Bend your knees and let's roll up. Sinking into those feet, relax the front of the ankles, come all the way to standing. Take a breath in to roll shoulders back. Your exhalation to soften the knees. Breath in, arms come up overhead, perhaps an arch backwards if you'd like. Take exhalation, bending knees, hinge from the waist. Take forward, bend. Breath in, push the feet down, slide the fingers up the shins. Search for a long spine. Exhalation, diving down. Stepping back with left foot, follow it with right. Take a breath in, move forwards. Option to lower the knees. Chaturanga to lower down. Inhalation for an arching of spine. Now you may prefer to come up a little higher here. So you can go for that, firming into the center still. So I'm not letting the pelvis completely drop. I've got that strength into the core stability. Then I'm going to move back and push into downward facing dog. Check in with your breath here. Again, trying to find that movement from the shoulders so I'm not collapsing into the joints. I'm spreading the toes and perhaps even drawing the toes up towards the shins. And that's a lovely way to engage the front leg, helping us here to get more length into the back of the legs. Take a breath in, lift the heels. Exhalation to bend the knees and look forwards. We have our options again to step, jump, or walk our way forwards. Take a breath in, push the feet down. Slide the ribs away from the pelvis. With your exhale, take that forward bend. Bend your knees and roll up through the spine. Take a breath in, arms come up overhead, perhaps an arch backwards in space. Exhalation, soften knees, take forward bend, Uttanasana. Breath in, push the feet down, slide the fingers up the shins, long spine, exhalation, diving down. Stepping back with right, follow left. Breath in moves forward, lower knees if you'd like, chaturanga with exhale. Inhale to arch, and with your exhalation, releasing back down. Tuck your toes, breath in to come up through your all fours, or your planking position if you'd like to work harder into the arms and chest. And your exhale finds your way to downward facing dog. And again, I'm relaxing into the knees, relaxing into the ankles, so I can get that spaciousness to the spine. You can see there I'm throwing the sitting bones back, pushing the pubic bone through the thighs. Take your next breath in. We're going to send the right leg backwards in space. Search for length here and distance. So I'm kicking the heel far away from the heels of the hands. Notice here my left ankle can now sink a little easier towards the floor. With your exhale, let's firm into the abdomen, curve the spine. Can we draw that right knee forwards and step into a lunging position? Now from that lunge, we're going to adjust the back foot to warrior one position. So I'm perhaps stepping it a little bit wider, and I'm dropping the foot down, making sure I'm anchored with the 2 feet. Soften the right knee and push through the foot to come on up to standing. Now your arms may prefer to be a little more in front here. If we bring them far back, you can see what happens here into my lower spine. So I get that little bit of an arch. And for anyone with lower spine issues, that's going to be a real trigger. So keep your arms a little bit more in front of you. Find length and space. Firm into the buttocks as well. Thinking of scissoring the legs. So my left leg is trying to move forwards. Right leg is trying to move backwards. And that gets me some good strength into the position. So log the sensation here of your warrior one into your legs, into your body. Take a breath in, perhaps a little bit of an arch as we open chest to the sky. And with your exhale, take forward bend, step back into plank, and we take chaturanga. Inhale for an arch. Exhalation, firming into the abdomen. Find your way back, downward facing dog. Check in here again. Find a nice equal position, equal balance of pressure through hands and feet. Equal pressure and reach through sitting bones. Let's send the left leg back. Take a breath in here as you lift the leg into the sky. Your exhalation is going to curve the spine, firming into the abdominals. Look at the amount of push here through the arms to step between the hands. It's okay if that does take several steps, so don't worry if you can't get through in one step. I'm going to adjust the back foot, drop the whole foot down, soften the knee, and then push, and maybe rolling the way up for some people may feel better. Always throw the arms backwards, as that offloads some of the work into the spine to come on up. Take your arms up overhead, finding your Virabhadrasana 1 here onto the left side. I'm drawing back the left hip and throwing the right hip and thigh forwards. I'm firming into the abdomen to stop me throwing myself back here. And those arms perhaps a little more in front. Breathing steady, checking in that we've got good, strong, stable legs that we could jump at any point. Take a breath in, perhaps a mild arch. With exhalation, forward bend. Stepping back into plank, taking our chaturanga vinyasa. Inhale for an arching, firming into the abdomen. Exhalation, find your way back, downward facing dog. Ooh, a little croaky bit in my throat there. Dog. So let those heels sink down towards the floor. I'm spreading the bases of the feet. And with my next breath in, I'm going to send the right leg back in space. Exhalation, I'm going to curve spine, draw the knee forward, step between the hands, adjust the feet. One breath to come up. Virabhadrasana 1 with mild chest opening. Exhale, forward bend. Step it back, take your vinyasa, chaturanga. Inhale for an arch. Exhalation, firm and moving back into downward facing dog. Breath in left leg, reaches for sky. Exhalation, curving spine, stepping forward, adjust the feet. Breath in, come on up, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhalation, forward bend. Stepping back, chaturanga. Inhale for arch, firm into the abdomen. Exhalation, find your way back, down dog. We'll do this one more time each side. Breath in, right leg reaches. Exhale, curve, step forwards, adjust the feet. Breath in, come on up. Mild arch, still firming into the center. Exhale, forward bend, step back, chaturanga. Inhale for arch. Exhale, fold into the waist to find your way back to down dog. Breath in, left leg reaches. Exhale, curve spine. Step forward, adjust back foot. Breath in, come on up. Mild arch perhaps. Exhalation, forward bend. Stepping back, chaturanga. Inhale for arching. Exhale, downward facing dog. Stay here and re-explore or rediscover your breathing. Find that fluidity to your breath. Find that softness to your Ujjayi pranayama. So notice if suddenly you're throwing your breath to your neighbors through the walls. See if you can try and bring your breath to a steady inward, gentle stream. That sound of the ocean in the conch shell inside our heads. Take a breath in, lifting your heels. Exhale to bend the knees and look forwards. Again, we have our transition for walking, stepping, jumping, or floating your way forward. Take a breath in, come up to that Utkatasana, maybe with hands onto thighs. Gentle push and open chest. Now, standing up here, just simply push the feet down and stand up tall. Roll your shoulders back and take a closed-eyed standing Tadasana. Checking with your breath. Do we still have that firmness into the center? Do we still feel the breath, however, moving into belly and chest? Lean into your left foot. We're going to step the right foot backwards towards the back end of the mat and turn the left toes in, turn the right toes out. That's a nice movement, huh? I never noticed that before. Now I'm going to push 2 long legs into the floor, and I'm going to drop into that right hip. Now as I do that, you can see if I keep my chest up, there's that naughty sideways bending to the spine. You can see it quite good there. Looks a bit like a very sexy Elvis movement. Something like this, yes? So what we want to do is avoid this little arch into the spine. So let's rigidize or firm into the core. There's the word, Ferdinand. Rigidize again. I'm going to firm into the core as I drop the hip, and there we go. I've found a nice diagonal with the spine. Then I'm simply going to continue to melt the Nutella in my right hip. And that's going to let me continue falling down into my Trikonasana. Maybe we can find the ankle, maybe even the floor. Maybe we can use a brick or your book or maybe some other implement that you may have around that you're using, a cane, a walking stick. You might want to do that. A relative's head, maybe put them on the floor. And we're just pushing down. If you're using a prop, use the prop. So really push down through it to offload some of the work in the spine, and that may help you free up the movement in the hips. So thinking here as well about zipping the thighs into the pelvis. So I've got a good, strong Trikonasana. In terms of our spine here, we're thinking about keeping it nice and long, and maybe there's an ability here to pivot onto the spine, but not too much of a twist. So we're not destabilizing the spine. Arm may be to the sky, or maybe it's still on the hip here and just searching or supporting the side body. And then from here, we're going to soften into that right knee. I'm going to push down, move the brick aside, and then I'm going to come back up through almost warrior 2, lengthen the legs, turn in the right foot, turn out the left. So now I've got good, strong position in the legs again. I'm going to lengthen and zip the thighs into the hips, and I'm going to switch on those abdominals, which helps pull the ribs down. A tendency in all these poses is to be very proud. So we'll stand like this, Trikonasana. Yeah, so instead I'm going to soften the chest, firm into the abdomen, and then hinge at the waist. So now I find I'm nice and stable in the center part of the body, and I can then melt the Nutella in the hips and find my way down into my Trikonasana. I'm pushing down with 2 strong feet into the floor. Strong arm if I'm using that support. If you prefer to go without, you can do that, but make sure you're really using the core stability there to support your spine. Check in with your neck as well. So is there a tendency here of looking up to the fingers? Perfectly fine as an option if you're working with spinal twisting in the neck. But perhaps for those of us who it's a habit for, we may prefer to explore switching the neck off, or maybe looking in the opposite direction. I'm going to soften into the left knee, push into that left foot to charge the leg, and come on back up. I'm now going to step that right foot back towards the front. I'm going to step back up, take the arms up overhead. Inhalation as I take a mild arch. Exhale for forward bend. Bend your knees, come up towards that Utkatasana. Open up the chest. Exhalation, take forward bend. Step back with right then left, Chaturanga. Inhale for an arching of spine, firming into the center again. Exhalation, find your way back for downward facing dog. Take a breath in, lifting up your heels. Bend your knees and look towards your thumbs. Have fun here, maybe exploring that little moment of hover onto your hands before you let the feet float down. Take a breath in, slide the fingers up, push the hands into thighs, and then stand up. Nice and tall, chest drawing down with firm abdominals. Lean into the right foot. Your left leg is now free to float, and I'm going to step it towards the back end of the mat. I'm going to turn the right toes in, left toes out. Virabhadrasana 2. Let your arms float out, but make sure your spine isn't twisted. So my pelvis is now facing on a mild diagonal. I'm going to bring the rib cage so the spine is free from twisting. I'm then going to soften into that left knee and press down. Careful here of letting the knee overtake the foot. That can overwork into the quadriceps. So I'm going to maybe move my right foot back and get a good, strong, open position. Let your arms then float like they're resting on two seals. That's a nicer one. I've often used drowning humans, but this time we can use maybe seals. And we're just resting them, petting the seals on either side of us, keeping the arms light. The shoulder blades themselves, however, I'm dragging them down the back a little bit, so I'm switching on the stability of the latissimus. Reversing your warrior. So I'm going to rotate that left palm up to the sky, lift the arm up, and then feel for that movement here. You can see my t-shirt. Imagine that was layers of muscle underneath my skin. So I'm moving those tissues to lengthen them, and I'm finding that sideways movement into the spine. Firming into the center, pushing down with two strong legs. Notice here, as I take that side bend, I offload the left hip, so I find there's more space. I may go a bit further. Parsvakonasana. Firm into the abdomen, bring the body forwards, let your left forearm rest onto the thigh initially. Let's go with this arm directly up to the ceiling. Now, as I'm here, stabilizing in the center, firming into the core, how can we zip the legs towards each other? So think of dragging the legs towards each other, and you'll feel that engage all the muscles around your thighs and around your pelvis. And now here, how can we maybe work a little more into the stability of the spine? So maybe we can push through those legs and even take the weight away from that left arm. Perhaps then we can use our brick, rest it onto the floor, or maybe bring it lower, or even Sonderbrick, without the brick, and we go down onto the floor. I'm learning, and I'm just sinking into that position, thighs moving in towards the body in terms of soft tissue, but my bones are pushing out. Now from here, I'm going to lower the right hand down. We're going to add in a little spinal twist here. So right hand comes down, right knee comes down, firm into the abdomen, and take a twist. So just feel that twist here as a counter to that previous position. It's a great stretch into the glutes, so into that area around the pelvis. And I'm just keeping that left leg in. So tendency here is to let that leg fall out. I'm going to see if I can talk to you through the mirror at this point. Try and avoid the leg falling out here. Keep it more drawn into the center of the body. If you need to, arm can even go further out, and that can feel quite nice to free the body that way. And all we're going to do is take a few breaths here, firming into the body. You see here, I'm not collapsing into this side. I'm keeping it nice and lifted. Left hand is going to come down to the floor. I'm going to lift the back knee, drop the foot down again as if it were coming back to our warrior 2. And we're going to push through the 2 feet, come all the way up, lengthen left leg, turn it in. Turn the right toes out. Warrior 2 on the right side. Soften into the knee. Spine is nice and balanced. I've not got the twist. I've not got the super proud chest here. This one here, I've got softness in the chest by firming into the abdomen. The arms are resting here. Now, to fight the tendency to go inwards now, as I pull the chest down, I use the latissimus to draw the shoulder blades down. And that's going to help keep your shoulders away from your ears. Now I'm going to push a little stronger whilst I reverse warrior. Rotate the arm, send it up to the sky. See the movement of the t-shirt again? If you're wearing a leotard at home, which you may be, you may feel that a little easier. The sliding of the tissue, of the fabric on your skin. So we feel that movement here, stretching out into the right side of the body. I'm still softening into that right knee. And that's going to really work into the stability of the upper leg on the right side. Now moving into Parasvakonasana, firming into the center, coming forwards, forearm comes to the thigh, left arm up to the ceiling. Now as I push through two arms here, I'm opening up the chest. I'm firming into the abdomen. I've got that side body working strong. So in a way, this is almost a side plank on my right thigh. Now I'm going to test out that side plank position. I'm going to push down through that right foot, lift the arm away. Can we hover? Can we play an invisible instrument? Can we move the arm out into space? Maybe even locate your brick and put that down onto the floor. You can lean into that. Or maybe lower. Maybe we reach through. Maybe we can reach to the center of the earth and press down. The bones of the legs are moving in separation, but the soft tissues, the muscles, are all gathering into the pelvis for stability. Now from here, from our Parasvakonasana, moving into that spinal twist, my left arm can just fall elegantly like an autumn leaf towards the ground. And I'm going to drop down the left knee into the floor, firming into the center. Maybe the arm comes a bit wider apart, and I'm taking that spinal twist. So as we open up this position, rather than thinking of it as a twisting of the spinal column, I'm thinking about rotating the whole spine, so I get the twist coming down first into the lowest part of the back. And I'm opening up the chest. For some people, you may even wish to bend this arm and take a movement from the elbow. That's a way to increase the stretch into the chest. It can feel quite nice, but make sure that the right knee isn't falling out to the side. I'm still pushing strong through that right big toe and inner arch. And then slowly from here, right arm comes back down to the floor. I'm going to lift the back knee, move back towards that warrior two position, pushing up, stay soft with that right knee, gather the left leg, step forward. Inhalation for an arching, feel free to wiggle on your feet a bit. Exhale, hinge from the waist, forward bend. Breath in, push through feet, long spine. Exhale, diving down. You have the options to jump back if you'd like, or stepping back into plank. Move the heart forward. Use your exhalation here for chaturanga. Inhalation for an arch. Look at this here. I've not got my pelvis dropping down, so I'm firming into the center. Exhalation, move back to down dog. So that little drop down of the pelvis there, you may find that that creeps its way into your practice. So as we start to fatigue, as we get a bit tired, we can go a bit floppy into that center part of the body. So just notice if those little bits of habit start to trickle their way into your practice. Now from here, send your right leg back, reaching it far away from you. Flexion of the foot is a great way to get that extra length into the back line of the body. Use your exhale, firm the core and curve the spine. Step forward. Now we're going to adjust the back foot here, keep the heel lifted, soften both knees, roll on up to parallel lunging position. Arms come up overhead. Now notice here, tendency is to drop like this. And you can see my lovely Santa belly here, or quarantine overeating cookies. So I'm thinking, it's happening. I'm thinking of firming into my center. So I'm keeping all of those soft tissues and organs nice and protected up against the spine there by firming up the front wall. Now maybe I want to take a brain cradle. So interlace the fingers, bend at elbows, let the head fall back, and I'm lifting the elbows. Now as we look at the sky here, I'm noticing Yogaground, they've cleaned up these lovely ceiling tiles, and you'll all see this when you return. It looks beautiful in here at the moment. So I'm opening up the chest. Now I'm going to see the flock of seagulls above the head, and they move off towards the right. Now as they move, that's taking me into a spinal twist. I'm bringing the left forearm to the thigh. As I press down, lift the elbow to the ceiling. So I've got that lovely spinal twist going on here in an elevated lunge. You'll find that your right leg starts to cook, that your abdominals are working strong here to keep your spine nice and rigid whilst you take the twist. Now from here we're going to move into a half moon, and we're searching also for a bind. I'm going to bring the right hand towards the floor, find your brick or the floor. So maybe coming to here with bent knee, perfectly fine. Maybe using your brick friend, and you're going to lean out into that brick. Now the most important leg here is this right leg, not this top one. So I'm thinking of pushing down, stabilizing, and just let the left leg float away. And maybe you find a nice, comfortable, stable half moon. Maybe you wish to explore here, reaching back. Maybe you can take the foot and take that bind. Just bring the heel towards the bottom. I'm firming into the center here to protect and stabilize the center of the body. I'm not allowing myself to go floppy. There's a difference here between riding the water equality of your body by remaining quite firm in the center, rather than just going completely floppy and waving all over the place. Now I'm going to release that bind, soften the right knee, and let the toe find the floor. Move the brick aside, take a breath in, push through the right leg just to switch those muscles on again. Exhale for forward bend. Step back, let's take that chaturanga. So vinyasa movement, arching into the spine. Exhalation, moving back, downward facing dog. How can we find that space into spine, space into shoulders and hips? Breath in for left leg to reach back. Exhalation, curve spine. Step forward, parallel lunge. I'm adjusting the back foot to go maybe slightly wider. I'm softening the two knees, I'm pushing through the feet, and I'm rolling up. Finding that good, solid, stable, square position in your parallel position here. The reason I'm bending the back leg is the tendency is to push this back, which tips the pelvis, throws the chest down. We have this. And then here, what I'm doing is I'm arching the spine, great for spinal mobility perhaps, but I'm really letting go of this central area. So what I'm going to do is bend the knee, firm into the abdomen. I'm pushing the pelvis slightly forward and down, and the thigh bone of the right leg, I'm swinging back. And you'll feel that switches on the buttocks, but it also stretches into the right hip flexors. Arms coming up to the sky, interlace fingers and bended elbows. Brain cradle if you'd like. So I'm opening chest to the ceiling. Whilst I open the chest, I'm still keeping the abdominals firm. That helps me stay connected to my pelvis. And then from here, I see the seagulls. They go across to the left. And I see them over there. I'm going to try and go for them. Right forearm comes down onto the thigh. This arm still maybe is here at the head, and I'm using the elbow to reach for the sky. So I'm very strong and stable into the center of the body. It's quite a lot of work, this position. So how many times have we gone for a twist in practices where actually we've tried to release the body to take a twist? Whereas really what we need is good, strong stability into the body to take this twist, to protect this most vital part of your body, your spine. And then from here, we're going to move ourselves into a half moon. So I'm going to locate my friendly brick. So like Yoda's walking stick. Lovely kokamai. And then I'm going to move forwards. That was my attempt at a Yoda impression. I'm going to lean into the brick, and I'm pushing down through the left leg. Gather the tissue into the hip. So like you're lifting your stockings up into your hip socket on that left leg. And you'll find it really helps to stabilize your legs. So the bones push out into space. The soft tissues, muscles, fascia, skin even, all draw back to the center to give you that stability. Now, how can we perhaps even search for that bind? So I'm changing the position of that back leg and drawing it in. I'm searching for a stretch there into the quadriceps. So as I bend the heel to the bum, I push the foot away again. So it looks like I'm trying to do a fancy dancer position, but actually I'm just searching for a stretch in the quads. And then I'm going to release, or fall, as I demonstrated there. I'm going to move the brick aside, push into the left leg again, find the strength to come back up, exhale, forward bend. And hopefully now our legs are nice and cooked. Chaturanga, inhalation for arching, exhalation, downward facing dog. And just tune in here to how your legs feel. How does the spine feel even? As we've done a lot of work there to stabilize and release, stretch into the legs, how does it feel that it actually frees up the spine? Take your breath in, lift your heels, curve spine, lower knees. Move back to sitting and swing your legs out in front. So from here, we're going to take ourselves into Paschimottanasana, a forward bend. So a couple of things here to look out for. As I flex the toes, if the knees lift, this tells you probably, if you're flexing the feet, you're changing the tension in the lower leg. So it may lift the knee. That just tells you your calves are tight. So if this is happening, feel free, stretch out your calves a lot. There's some great stretches for calves, which maybe I can't show you right now, but maybe we can do even a little mini tutorial sometime. But I'm flexing the toes back, bending the knees. I'm lifting myself up in opposition. Arms come up overhead, and I'm firming the abdomen to stop the ribs from moving out with proud chest. Then I'm moving forward from there. If you're finding that movement impossible, use perhaps your hands behind you and just give yourself a little bit of a push. And that's a nice way just to give yourself a sense of direction. So you'll see this doesn't necessarily look like the Paschimottanasana in the books, depending on your own tensions. So I don't have the loosest backs of the legs. My hamstrings are quite tight. I've got my dad's legs. So what happens is I have to alter the position for my own body. So feel free, alter the position for your own anatomy. And maybe if your arms are reaching out, let them come down to the floor. Let the hands almost dig into the floor a bit and drag the heart forwards. Keep the toes drawing back. That's keeping that same principle here of engaging or shortening the front of the leg helps me to lengthen the back of the leg. And then I'm starting to firm into the abdomen again. Check that we're nice and strong and stable in the core. I'm pushing through the hands to lift myself out from the position. Maybe doing this little walking from side to side. It's a nice option to use the hands to come up. Bend your knees. Just maybe move your pelvis a bit forward, taking that inverted plank. Now, you may prefer to go here with the feet down here or long legs. Okay, so I'm going to start to firm into the abdomen again. I'm going to lift the chest, but keep that nice and firm. Careful of doing this and just moving the chest out. Push the feet down, lift yourself up. Now, careful here of throwing head back. It may feel good for some people, and it may be perfectly fine and safe, but for some people, you may find that it restricts the airflow and even can prevent circulation. So that's the one thing we don't want to do. So maybe for those of you who it feels a bit uncomfortable, keep your neck in. So I'm firming into the center, which helps me to firm into the buttocks. Now, see if you can keep your bum away from the floor here. Bring the body down. Bum moves through, and I'm going to lift up and then lower body onto floor. Lean onto your right side, bend your left knee, place the foot onto the inner thigh. So, actually, we're not going to go for Yanu, we're going to go for spinal twist. So I'm going to move the foot in. Now I'm going to lean into the left hand. Actually, the brick being there can be useful if you're feeling tight. But I'm going to use the floor. I'm going to take a twist towards the leg, see if I can then move the arm and press here. Now you can move that foot over and take it deeper. But for some people, if you're tight in the hips, keeping the foot on the same side is a good way to help you out there. And just feel for that spinal twist, drawing the right toes back, firming into the abdomen, reminding ourselves if we want to mobilize the spine, we have to do it with it protected. Come back through the center. Take a mild counter twist to one side. Change the legs over. And then from here, flexing the foot, lift up out of the waist. Spinal twist towards the right. I'm going to gently push into the thigh. I'm also thinking here about hugging that right thigh towards the center line. So the legs can also help me on this twist. Perhaps you want to look out over the right shoulder. That can work as well to work into the neck area. But just notice again, if you feel like it's giving you some unusual position like this, perhaps in the neck, just keep it nice and free. Come back through the center. Lean yourself back. Cross your legs and come forward. So we're going to now move into a little bit of work into the spine before we take an inversion practice. Okay, so I'm going to come forward, firm into the abdomen as you roll down onto front. Bring your arms out in front of you. Now just keep them like this, so like a frog that's just been run over. I saw one of those the other day. I was bicycling and it was nice and crispy. And you should have seen it, it flipped like a frisbee. So I'm going to, from here, firm into the abdomen. And as you firm into the abdomen, you automatically feel your bottom will switch on a little bit. So I've got that nice firmness there. I'm going to lift the elbows, start to lift the chest. Maybe we can even lift the legs. Flexing the feet is a good idea here. It helps keep length into the muscles that we're trying to contract, which is a lovely way of working into those muscles. I'm keeping the neck long, so I'm not lifting the focus too much here. Firming into the back body. So endurance training in this position by sustaining for a little bit longer. And when we feel that we start to get towards the end, where we start to fatigue a little bit, let's bring the body back down. Turn the head to one side, take a breath. Breathing into your belly here is a great way to decompress, particularly for tension in the lower part of the back. Then let's go again here. So we're going to firm into the abdomen. You see how that starts to switch on my lovely bottom there? And I'm thinking of pushing the pelvis into the floor. Going to bring the head back, lift the forearms away from the floor, start to lift the chest, keep the neck long. I'm maybe going to lift the legs. Maybe you prefer to bend the knees. Maybe you're even working with a bow. And that's perfectly fine as well to go for that posture if you'd like. But just work with what your body is telling you. If you go for bow and your spine goes, ow, ow, don't do it, okay? Don't push through pain, particularly with spines. They just don't like it. Then from here, you're going to release your way down. Hands come under the shoulders, firm into the abdomen. To move back, child's pose. Push from hands, come up. Don't let yourself stay in child's pose. This is not a break. So we're going to bring the forearms down. Dolphin. So we're going to work with that dolphin position. For some people, if you're tight or tired in the shoulders, interlace your fingers. That's a good little option for this. But I'm going to work with palms down. I'm going to come forwards, and I'm going to drop my head. I'm going to push elbows into the floor. And simply by pushing the elbows down, you see what that does to my shoulders? It protracts the shoulders. And I'm going to check again because my head was lifting. I'm going to curve into the mid-spine. I'm going to tuck the toes. Now, carefully of throwing your bum backwards. Think of moving up to the sky rather than back this way. So I'm moving the weight forwards into my arms. So this is all about strengthening around the shoulders. So I'm pushing down, relaxing neck. Maybe you even wish to explore lifting one leg and the other leg. Maybe you'd even like to explore a little bit of a bend and a hop movement to try Pincha Mayurasana. So you can play around with exploring that inversion if you like, making sure the core stays switched on. And I'm reaching through the bones, reaching out into space. And I'm going to find my way back down. Don't worry if your position is here right now. That's still good. You're climbing the ladder towards Pincha Mayurasana. And then we're going to move back. Push from those hands. Roll your way up. Swing the legs around to the front end of your mat. Shuffle your pelvis to the center. Now, to find our way down into our relaxation, we're going to use the abdominals. So I'm going to reach the arms out into space, move a little higher, firm abdomen. See if you can hinge. So rather than roll back, I'm hinging. And at some point, this hinge, I'm going to have to move a little bit onto the back of the sacrum and the feet just lift there. So you see, I'm now in my Utkatasana, which we had before. So I'm firm into the abdomen. I'm supporting my spine. Now, both lines are going to reach out, and I'm going to start to curve into the mid-spine so I could come into this dish shape. Firm into the abdomen, strong in the center, and then I'm slowly going to melt, like a car souffle. Been having one too many of those over this break, that's for sure. And I'm relaxing down into the floor. And just let your body melt into the floor. Flex your toes back, kick the heels away. Stay there with flexion in the feet. Flex the wrist. Reach away like Spider-Man shooting webbing. Lift the head a little, draw the nose in, and reach with the back of the head. Push the tailbone away from the back of your head. And then release everything. And just feel at this point in your practice, can we just surrender the softer tissues? Let go of that desire to hold the body in position. And just feel for the weight of the bones sinking through those various soft tissues, sinking into those slings that usually help support the skeleton. And as the body itself just dissolves into the floor, as we feel that embrace from gravity, can we take our focus and our attention to just observe the breath? Just observing the soft movement of your breathing, feeling that natural expansion that comes with steady inhalation and easy exhalation. How is your breathing now at this point in your practice? Have you been able to continue following that steady stream of your breathing through your practice? Is the breath now perhaps a little stilted, a little juddery? Is it faster? Perhaps it's even slower. And you're more than welcome, if you prefer to remain here, laid in your Shavasana position. If you're perhaps watching this on repeat on YouTube, then perhaps you'd like to remain in a position for a little bit longer. But for those of you who are joining me live now on Instagram, we're just going to start to reawaken. So deepen your inhalations. Send those inhalations to your feet, to your hands, wiggle toes and fingers. Maybe let your head take a gentle roll from side to side. Bring your hands up over your head and take a stretch out before rolling over towards perhaps the left-hand side here today and pushing strong through your arms, the bones pushing into the floor, the soft tissues again engaging to maintain good and steady posture in the body. Come to your cross-leg position or perhaps sitting on shins and just bring the hands together in front of your heart. And thanking yourselves for your practice this morning or perhaps this afternoon or evening if you're watching later online. But thank you all for joining me for this power class today. And thank you all very much. I hope to see you again very soon. Namaste. Have a good day. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thumbs up, wavy hands, prayer hands.